morning, folks, in Mac 113. Today we're going to be covering section 2.5. Stumbled a little bit there. I don't feel like my face is awake yet. Anyhow, today is Thursday, October 7th. So as per the schedule, we'll cover 2.5, and that will be the end of chapter 2. Okay. If you're following along and you want to print out the available PDF, there's just really just this one page. You could, if you want, from last time, duplicate the procedures. Can't separate these for some reason. Of how to do the order of operations, if you will, for constructing a three-set Venn diagram. This is from section 2.4 technically, but it's still available. What I really want to do with you now is do an example of a word problem where, rather than just some random numbers, we're going to actually apply this to a situation. And this is about music, so it's interesting. All right, and there's some extra questions at the very bottom that I slipped in here. All right, I'm not going to spend the time just going over this, okay? All right, so if you're following along, please take a look at that, and we'll get started. We'll turn this on. This is the kilted. Here's our example for section 2.5, the three-set application. See if that's visible. Looks like it's okay. All right. 500 people surveyed. It was reported that 270 listened to hip hop, 320 listened to rock, 160 listened to country. Furthermore, 140 listened to both hip-hop and rock, 120 listened to both rock and country, and 80 listened to both country and hip-hop. Lastly, 50 listened to all three genres of music. Taking the information from here, I itemized it more or less here. And what you're asked to do is answer these parts A, B, and C, which are very tiny and you probably can't see with the projection. Let me just read them to you. How many listen to hip hop only? How many listen to rock and country but not hip hop? Right? How many listen to none of these? And how many don't listen to country? Right? Would be the questions that you actually have to answer. Right? But before you can do that, remember you have to fill in this table first to make it a little bit easier on you. It's the whole point of a Venn diagram. It illustrates everything all at once. All right, so let's go about the process of doing that. All right, and I'm going to try to throw in some helpful information up here at the top. I'm thinking the projection is not too bad this morning, but if it gets that there's a sunrise, that the sun gets a little too much, I'm going to block it. Okay, so let's get started. All right, now, if you didn't have the inkling that this was a three-set situation, all right, one thing you can do as you try to translate the word problem into something useful is that take note of the subjects. All right, they're talking about three genres of music: hip hop, rock, and country, respectively. All right, so those are three distinct things. Which you could designate as such. All right, A, B, and C is probably the easiest thing. The only one that kind of coincides with just coincidentally with the initial of the genre would be country. But maybe think about it this way. If C is for country, B is for bedrock, and A is for hip-hop in this case. If you want, you could label it H, R, and C instead. But hip-hop is A. I'll make rock B, and country C. Okay. Again, don't be intimidated. When you have a word problem, it may be intentionally written so as to be confusing. So take a little artistic license, and within the confines of logic, try to take it and slim it down to the bare essential. What I've tried to do here was simplify a little bit. There's 500 people, 270 listen to hip hop total, 320 listen to rock total, 160 listen to country total, right? Those amounts would be overlapping in these three regions. Right? It goes further to tell you that 140 listen to a pair of music. Right, so there's going to be some overlap in that case as well. All right, another pair would be rock and country. And then there's this fun fact that you listen to both country and hip hop. Notice the one thing at the very bottom here, mentioned last. 50 listen to all three genres of music. All right, even though that is mentioned last, that represents, remember, the center sort of this flower here. All right, when we were going through the process last time, remember, the strategy is to start with region 5, which, although it's not written here, is the very center here. It kind of looks like a V anyhow. All right, I will label it just to refer to this bound region here. All right, and this would be region 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 respectively. All right, and we're going to go through essentially 5, 2, 4, 6. Remember, you start from the center and work your way out on the pedals here. And then 1, 3, 7, and 8. All right. Can you do pedal 4 before you do pedal 2? Yeah. All right, but remember, you absolutely should do the center first, all right, and then the things that are immediately adjacent to it, that are in overlapping areas, not just this region like B crescent shape here. All right, so we already have that much information actually specified for us. 50 people listen to all three. So what would be appropriate is to put a 50 right here, right? And that is going to make our lives very easy, all right, as we go through the process. I'm just going to maybe call that H, R, and C to emphasize. All right, now let's say we start with region 2 next. All right. And if I put sort of a list here, all is 50. And now we're going to try to deduce what 2 is. What would be representing region 2? Region 2 is that much of the biscuit here that is exclusively hip hop and rock. So hip hop and rock only. We, up here in the list of things, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but just took care of this. If you look at the second in this list here, 140 listen to both hip hop and rock. Well, 140 would be the total here. That would be the whole sort of Jesus fish here. Would be 140. All right, because but without mentioning country per se. If we want hip hop and rock exclusively, all right, what we need to do is to subtract from 140. So this would be essentially 140 minus 50. And it would be watt only then. That would be the 90 would be the balance. Okay. So in this region here, I'm going to put 90. And I'm going to get rid of that Roman numeral because it's no longer necessary. Right? Remember, it may be, you know, English sort of complicates things when you're doing math, unfortunately, a lot of times. All right? But reason it through this way. The whole biscuit that I'm tracing here with my finger represent things that would be the overlap of hip hop and rock, right? But if you want that part that is really region 2, the Star Trek sort of portion of this symbol here, you have to subtract from the total that's quoted to you, which is 140, all right? Given that 50 is all three people, or all three genres, all right? The logic is that these two things together represent the whole biscuit, right? But if you want just the only portion that is HR, right, hip hop and rock, right, it would just be 90 the balance, right? Literally 140 the total minus 50 the known equals the unknown, 90. Okay, and there's going to be similar situations here and here. All right, so if we go sticking with the program. We'll do region 4 next. Now, if you look at this biscuit shape sort of here, it would be 50 plus something would be the total that is hip hop and country. Right. This, if you look at this portion of the list, down here, 80, it's written backwards, but it's the same information that we're looking for. 80 people listen to both country and hip hop rather than saying hip hop and country. Right? Same difference. Right? Literally. So, if 80 people represent this entire biscuit, what's just this chunk of it here? It looks like something from electronics. Gates is an electronic component. Let's see. Well, it would be the total. Remember this. A total minus a known equals an unknown. Balance. That's essentially the strategy, formula, or whatever you want to call it, that I'm utilizing here. If 50 is the known and the total is given to us as 80, then for hip hop and country only, it would be 80 minus 50, which would be 30. Okay. Which means that in this portion of this chunk, this biscuit here, one would have to put 30. Which means we've now covered that. All right. Now again, a third time, we're going to do the same thing for region 6. All right. Region 6 is part of the overlap of rock and country. But it would be rock and country only, without any consideration for anything that is just coincidentally shared with hip hop. All right, that's the hurdle here. All right, that we keep getting confronted with. All right, the way that the problem is verbalized is that it is, I guess, intentionally vague. All right, it's unfortunate. All right, so we're trying to demystify it. Anyhow, we have a strategy for doing that. The total would be, in this instance, rock and country is 120. So this biscuit here would be 120 altogether. We know a portion of it, that is the known part is 50. So it's going to be similarly as to before, 120 minus 50 which would be logically 70. That means that in region 6, we would have 70. Okay? And we're doing well, all right? We've used up this much information, all right? And now we can fill in region 1, 3, and 7. All right? Because we have the 4 pieces that essentially are confined by the red circle. We have an unknown region that is the sort of this moon shape, and then the balance of 90 plus 50 plus 30. In this case, there's a sum that is the known balance, all right? And that will help us figure out what the unknown is. So I'm a little short on space, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this stuff over here. Figure out region 1 now. Region 1 is hip hop only. Right, which would be the same basic idea, a total minus a known amount. It's just that the known amount in this case and in the other 2 as well is going to be a sum rather than just one number. So when we do this, what we're going to have to write as the total is what's quoted to us initially, which is that 270 people listen to hip hop. Right. 270 minus, and I'm going to have to put this in parentheses for the sake of the sum, 90, 50, and 30. 90 plus 50 plus 30, and you really should add those first. This is essentially 270 minus a certain amount that is all of this combined. Right? Added together, 90 plus 50 is 140. 140 plus 30 is 170. So if you subtract 270 minus 170, you get 100 naturally. That means that in this region, it's 100. Right. 100 plus 90 is 190. 190 plus 50 is 240. 240 plus 30 is 270. That's the entirety of hip hop listeners, all right, without specifying any other, preferences. Okay. Same strategy now, shifting over to the rock moon shape here, that portion that is left over. It is quoted to us that there is 320. All right, people that listen to rock, but that's the whole thing confined to the blue circle without specifying that portion of it. All right, we're going to figure that out. So for region 3, which would be rock only, it is 320 as the total, minus, in parentheses, the sum now from 90, 50, and 70. Do we add these first? Sorry that it's overlapping. 90 plus 50 is 140. 140 plus 70 is 210. So, if it's 320 minus 210, what would that equal? 110 should be, right? Yeah. Okay. So in region 3, the balance that would be unknown would be 110, right? Just to verify that it adds up correctly, I'm going to do it now. 110 plus 90 is 200. 200 plus 50 is 250. 250 plus 70 would be 320. One more time, we're going to do for region 7 now, the balance, this sort of moon shape here of country. And I'll put that here somewhat reluctantly. I can get rid of that. Let's see. Region 7 country only, which would be, again, a total quoted to us of country listeners is 160, minus a sum of where it overlaps here, 30, 50, and 70, these petals, and that center. Alright, so that looks like 30 plus 50 plus 70 is actually 150. So 160 minus 150 should equal 110, coincidentally, right? Alright, so in region 7, 110. Unless I missed it somehow. Oh, pardon me, it's just 10 right here. Okay. 100, yeah, okay, sorry. That's why it's good to check your sums after the fact, right? 10 plus 30 is 40, 40 plus 50 is 90, 90 plus 70 is 160, that's correct. Okay. So what we should have, at least insofar as the sort of Mickey head here, is 100, 90, 110, 30, 50, 70, and 10. Now, we're not finished because there are people who don't listen to any of these genres of music. Right? So we have to account for them in region 8, that which is outside the confines of the 3 overlapping circles. So how would we do that? We would need to figure out how many people there are in here total. Alright, that is within the circles. And then subtract it instead from the 500 people who were surveyed. So one more of these. And again, just simply for the fact that I'm short on space, I'm going to put it here. When we're considering region 8, it's going to be none of these. Which would be, again, the total 500 people minus a sum, right? Don't jump the gun and go, well, I'll just add 270, 320, and 160. As much as that would be nice, it would be nice if this didn't turn off. I'm turning off when I'm talking. You can't get away with just simply adding these 3 things together because there's overlap amongst them. So what you have to do is now use the picture, since we've taken the time to do it, figure out what the sum would be here. All right, it would be officially 100 plus 90 plus 110 plus 30, 50, and 70, and then 10, all added. And then we can subtract. Right. A bit of a pain in the neck, but you can use your calculator if you want. I'm going to try to do it brute force here. Do it in the order that it is conducive. All right. Look for things that are, when it's just adding, remember you could add things in any order that you find convenient. These 2 things are 200 together. Pardon me, yes, 200. 200 plus 100 is 300, just from having done all of this. All right. These 2 together are another 100. All right. 100 plus 50 and 10 is 60. So 160 it should be. That means that altogether it's 460. Right? If I subtract 460, the sum of all of these parts minus from the total 500, it should be 40. That means that in region 8 here now, the balance would be 40. Right. Now, it's a little tedious, right? But the whole point of it is the exercise. It's not the specific answer that we're really looking to, well, I mean, you want to satisfy a question, of course, but in the long run, the more important thing is the experience. So going through the trouble of constructing a diagram like this will help you remember how to do it, and it'll make answering these questions a lot less arduous because you won't have to feel around in the dark. All right, you have a strategy. All right, so let's answer these questions. All right, for part A, which may be a little faint down here, it says, how many listen to hip hop only? I'm a little reluctant to expand this, but I'll show you really quickly. These are the questions. How many listen to hip hop only? Those who listen to rock and country but not hip hop? None of these, or don't listen to country. Hip hop only would be this much of the diagram. And we've already calculated that. Right. So it's just really region 1, which is just 100 then, to answer part A. Just these people. It's like a Lucky Charm marshmallow, right? Okay. The next one, how many people listen to rock and country but not hip hop? That's phrased kind of weirdly, right? But we could figure it out, right? Rock and country are these two regions, and rock and country would be this biscuit, right? And then to specify not hip hop would mean that you'd have to erase out the 50 instead, right? So what would that leave you with, right? 70. It's an awkward way of referring to something, but that would be correct. The intersection of rock and country is this entire biscuit shape, right? But if you're going to go further to say, but not hip hop, right? You'd have to get rid of the overlapping of all three, which is 50 in this case. That leaves you with just 70. Let's see. None of these we already kind of answered anyway. None of these is simply the balance of 40 outside all three circles, right? And then lastly, the question is, all right, how many don't listen to country at all, all right? Well, don't listen to country would be everything outside of this circle. Because these are country listeners one way or another. So that's 40 plus 100, 90, and 110. Total. Which would be what? I use green in this case because it would seem to be appropriate. 90 plus 110 is again 200. 200 plus 100 is 300. 300 plus 40 would be 340, it should be. Kind of the whole kit and caboodle. Okay? Alright, so again, the whole point of this is to get familiar with how to fill in a diagram for any word problem that involves 3 sets. It's a little tricky, alright, but it makes answering the questions much faster. All right. I take my time naturally because I have to, and I would be remiss if I didn't, all right, as an instructor. But once you get enough experience to be faster, right, faster than me, and that's good. All right. All right. That's basically all that I have for you today. So I'll leave you to your work and turn this off, and just remind you of certain things. For homework, if you're following along, please do section 2.5 in my lab. Alright, and if you do that, you're right where we're supposed to be. Alright, there is no other section, no 090 video this week. because we're not talking about algebra. Alright? So, alright. Thank you guys. I'll see you again on Tuesday. Be careful out there.